Hello and good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. There we go. There is Darlene. Good evening. Good evening. Hope everyone is doing well. We'll just give it a minute or two. We got lots of eyeballs already joining in. Welcome to our second last learning live of August. And Darlene is going to be playing with stencils tonight. A lot of the techniques she's doing tonight is using the TCW A2 4 stage layered stencil. I think I got that right. But I'm sure a lot of the techniques she's going to share with you can also work with other layered stencils as well. So without further ado, I am going to hand all of this over to Darlene and she can take it away. It's all yours, Darlene.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining me today. So, as Sherry said, I am going to play with some TCW A2 card 4-part layered stencil. And what it is that it is one 8.5 by 11 reusable plastic stencil. On the stencil, I'm going to actually show you this bottom part here because it's really hard to see the stencil on its own. But what it is, it's an 8.5 by 11, which is the letter size stencil. And there is 4 sectioned off layered parts. So instead of having individual pieces, they have made it into one big piece where you do, let's say, this number 1, it's all numbered. So you stencil number 1, then you overlap it with stencil 2, 3, and then 4. So there's different ones that we brought in. One of them is we currently went out of stock today, but we have this nativity scene. We have, if I can remember the names for it, this is called the Starry Village, and this is Santa Moon. So Santa Moon is out of stock at the moment. But tonight, sorry, just dropped something on the floor. I am going to play with 2 of the stencils, which is, let me just move stuff to the side. I am going to play with these 2. And what I wanted to show you is how they can be used on its own and used together. So first things first is because it's an 8.5 by 11, I find the stencil quite large to work with. I am used to working with stencils that are much smaller. So here is the stencil. Let me just move this out of the way. So it is 8.5 by 11. And what they want you to do is, I have paper, is to line it up. I'm not sure if you can see it. Hopefully with my inking already, you can see the little etched marks. Let me see if I can bring it closely and focus. There is an etched mark where you line up your paper. It's in black right now because I have been stenciling with black. Can you see that? Let's see. So that you can see that tint of black mark, but that is where you are going to line up your cardstock. These cardstock is cut down to it is cut down to 5.25 by 4 inches. So it is a little bit smaller than an A2 size card, which is perfect for if you want to layer with a colored cardstock. And what you would do is line it up edge to edge with that mark. And what I like to do, so these panels are big, so I have to cut them down. So let me cut that down. Well, I thought I had them cut down, but let's do it together. So I am not working in my craft room, so I'm a little bit jiggly today. 5.25 by 4. So I just have to take a smidge off because these panels I pre-cut were already sized to an A2 size. So this is 4, and I just need 5.25. So they are just 1/4 of an inch on both sides for layered. So now that is the panel you want to work with. And you line it up edge to edge. I know it's really hard to see, but what I'm trying to aim is there's a little edge mark of that size all the way around on each layered part. So there's 1 for 1, there's 2, 3, and 4. So let me just show you how it would work if you're using it as a full panel. So my trick is if you have a magnetic board, if you have washi tape, which is what I've been using, or the Best Ever craft tape, I tape it. So I line it up. My card is edged to the marking on the layered stencil. It is finicky, but once you get the groove, it's fine. I do tape it underneath so it doesn't move. I found this was the easiest way for me to stencil. And of course, because I'm on camera, I'm getting stuck here. It is shifting. Hold on. Let me do that off screen. It's just I can't see. So edge to edge, right in the square and right over there. I am going to tape it down here because it's a bigger piece. Hello, everyone. So I tape one side, and what I do is I take another piece of tape and I am going to stick it to the top here. And let me just put a piece of tape over there. And you can pick any color. So let's do, I've been having fun with night skies. So let's see what I have here. Do I have blue? Let's get some blue ink. And on my top is Uncharted Mariner. So let's start with this blue. Doesn't matter if you're using oxide or if you're using distress inks or any water-based inks, it would all work. I am using my Totally Tiffany rotation board. So if you see me swivel, that is my little board. And I am going to ink. So this is number 1. If you find that the spinning is out of control, let me know. I did bring my magnetic board to swap. But I've been enjoying my rotation board as I can spin. So let's say if I'm spinning, I can spin all the way to the side and I have more control. So just inking and inking. So depending on the color, how deep you want the color, you can go. And I was spinning too hard. Hold on, I'm gonna shift that up. Let me do a little bit more on this. So if you have any questions, please feel free. I am looking at comments, sort of. Once I get crafting, that's it for me. So here I am. And you can change up the color. If you know me, I like to add a little bit of purple in it. So let me add a little bit of purple. And yes, I am at the store today because my Wi-Fi has been acting quite funny at home. And I wanted to make sure I had a strong connection to be on tonight. So I'm just putting different color for the sky. Okay, and because this is a big spot, you really want to make sure it's covered fully. And I have a little splitch mark there, but it's okay. Live television, right? Live, you get all the little splooches and oops, and thing. Okay. Next thing I am going to do is we want to move it to stencil 2. So if you were mass producing, I would have lots of card fronts of the same size ready to go. And I would just, since my number 1 is already mucked up with ink, and if I'm using the same colors, then I would put another sheet of paper underneath and continue on. So here's number 1. And what I found with this particular, so there. It does give you that white trim. So what I did was I cut it down further, only for this one, because the tree one, I was fine. I didn't have a white border around. So here's my sky. You can see the village is almost there. I am lining it at number 2. So matching up those embossed lines, those etched, it's more like etched lines. Doing the same thing. And the nice thing is number 2 is I'm trying to match those houses. So even though your paper, let's say you cut it too short or it's not matching with those edge lines, as long as you're matching with those houses, then you know you're not going to have that white gap. And what color houses should I do now? Let's do, I've been doing gray houses. Did I take gray now? Let's do some gray. I moved into the store if you haven't noticed. Totally Tiffany storage is great for moving into the store. So I'm using hickory smoke, and I am going to do this solid part of the town. And the nice thing that because your card is already cut down to size, you don't have to worry about over stenciling and getting, let's say, the stars because you put too much ink and then you blend it downwards. If I do blend too far down, it's just going to get on my rotation board or on your craft paper, your desk pad. So that's a nice thing about having it already cut down. So here, now I have to do the edges. So I'm just going to slowly do, this is when a small blending tool will work. So I'm just blending. And here. So you can go dark, light, depending on how you feel. So that is layered number 2. Now for number 3. So you just keep moving downwards. So let me just finish this one with you and I'll show you variations. Ooh, this sticky tape. Okay, so I'm going to move down to number 3. So they go from left to right and then bottom left to right. If you find the numbers difficult to read, I would use like a Sharpie marker to write on top of it. Like just on the corner where it doesn't interfere. So there is my house. Now I'm going to add the details. And once again, instead of matching the edges, I'm going to match the gray that I just inked with the detailed parts. So that way, if my inking was bad, my paper shifted, at least I know my rooftops will be nicely placed and I don't have to worry about it looking funny. So I'm using those guides to help me, and I'm securing it with lots of best ever tape. The yellow tape. I think that's easier. No, not tongue-tied. I'm using black soot because I really want the detail to show. And I think my black soot needs re-inking. So here I am going very, very heavy on black soot because I really want that detail to show. The yellow tape is amazing. So here is number 3. And I'm just using the stencil as is, and then I'll show you some combinations, which I'm having lots of fun with. And I'll show you some of Tim Holtz's glow, his new glow in the dark paste, which I'm having a lot of fun with too. Oops, I missed a spot right here on this tree. Let's make sure we get it. Towel, I have little paper towel lints, and you know what, let's do this roof a little bit darker. Okay, so that is number 3 and number 4. So if you were mass producing, it goes really well, especially if you're using the same 4 or 5 colors over and over again. And that's what I liked about this, is that if you're making a whole bunch of cards with winter theme, Christmas theme, you can produce these really quickly, especially if it's stenciling. If you are using, let's say, paste, it will take time, but you can always do step 1, 2, and 3 with ink, and then do number 4 for paste for color. So this one here, I'm going to line up those lights. They have little markings for the lights to peek out. And sorry if you can't see what I'm doing here. Just want to make sure I'm holding that tightly. So in this, I don't know if you can see it, but there's little cutout for light. So if you wanted to do yellow, if you wanted to do paste on it. So for now, I'm going to do yellow. We'll do the messy stuff towards the end so you can see all that. And I'm using fossilized amber because I don't think I brought squeezed lemonade, but I think this yellow, ooh, this yellow is very inky. And I am going through the lights, and there is stars. I'm going to do everything yellow for this one. And then we'll get some messy, messy, messy.
Darlene?
Yeah.
We have a question from Ellen.
Okay.
She says, I have a bit of a monster hand and have some issues destroying delicate stencils. What would be your tips? She
When you're
blending
stenciling?
brushes when she's stenciling. She uses blending brushes, but she wonders if maybe she should use a different tool.
Blending brushes work really well as if you have the what's it called, the domed or the felt tips. Do I have them here? They also work well. What I like to do is I like to go, so you have to think of stenciling being very gentle, as if you're just how would you describe it? You don't want to push hard in it. You want to tap it lightly and go in circular motions. And what I like to do is go in one motion, so circular motion to the right, and then I'll go circular motion to the left. This way it catches the all the indented pieces of the image, but with a really soft hand. The only time I go heavy handed is when it's a solid like this, because I know there isn't much delicate pieces. But if it was something like here where I had, let's say on the top of this building, I would go a little bit lighter, or down here with the detailed, go really, really soft and go really slow. I find that when I go slow, I am more careful than going fast. So if you're trying to finish cards in a rush, I wouldn't recommend a very detailed stencil, because that's when you're going to ruin all the delicate pieces and it's going to bend or it's going to break off. But if you have the time and you're sitting there, go very, very slow and very gentle on your stencil pieces.
So if I can just add 2 points.
Yeah.
As Darlene was saying, it's always better to start lighter. You can always add more pressure, add more color. So if you're finding you're not getting the intensity, again, start light, but then you can go over it again and again. And Ellen, something else you might want to try is pixie spray. So pixie spray is a low tack adhesive spray that goes on the back of stencils. So if you have delicate bits, that will help keep it adhered to the paper and have a little bit less risk of it pulling up and maybe getting destroyed because you are being heavy-handed.
Thank you, Sherry. So here is the final piece, adding the lights and the stars. And what I would do is trim off that white border just to make it more centered. I did shift a little bit right at the beginning, but because I kept matching up my houses, you could tell that the overlay is still perfect. So I will trim the white border a little bit so it doesn't look so out of whack here. So this is the intention of the stencil. And I think it's a really good invention to have a stencil as one piece, but I like to work in smaller format. So what I did with my 8.5 by 11 stencils, particularly the TCW ones, I cut them smaller. So before I show you how I cut them, the one way I like to clean my stencil is rubbing alcohol. I spray it onto a cloth and I just wipe it down. And my stencils are well loved, so there's always residue of ink, and then I will dump it into water after. But for now, because I'm still using this to show you other ways to use it, I'm just going to quickly wipe this down, and then I can do a nice wash afterwards. So I'm just using rubbing alcohol and washing that down. So
just make sure your project and your good stuff is not underneath.
Yes. And the nice thing about rubbing alcohol is that it dries really quickly on your stencils. So you don't have to worry about not being able to use it right after. So now, like you could tell, I just rubbed it and everything is nice and clean. There's no water droplets. So that was it. So how do you cut it down? So you don't have to, but this is just a preference for me because I like working in smaller, is that if you look closely in between the card etch marks, there is a little gap. So I actually cut where the gaps are. Yes, I am going to cut it because I know for me to use this stencil a lot more is to cut it down, and that way I could use it on my traveler's notebook pages. So I'm cutting it right in between those two card edge marks. So it's about 5.5-ish. Oh, 1 second, because of this board, I can't cut even. Hold on. It's not letting me cut evenly. So let me try that again, so I don't break my stencil. So I'm cutting right. Uh-oh. I think I did a double cut here, but it's okay. Let me just do that. And then cut it again right in between those two. Give me a second here. I'm just lining it up in the middle. And so I'm splitting my pieces apart. And now it is very delicate, especially one of the ends here, because it's really thin. But you'll see how easy it is to work with small ones and interchangeable. So this one here, I did save to cut on screen. Well, of course, being on screen, it's a wackadoodle here. 1 second, it's very slippery. Actually, you know what? So I don't break it, I'm going to start in the middle. Oh, this one doesn't want to cut. The first one cut really well, and this one doesn't seem to want to cut. So if you have a guillotine, you will have no problem. But this one I'm going to use scissors because I don't want my stencil to break. So I'm just going to snip in between the two markings. So now I have 4 individual pieces. And I know this is not what TCW intended, but I needed to do what was easiest for me to keep stenciling. So, and this one now has a double cut, which I'm just going to trim off. So I'm still good. I still have all my score lines to help me put my paper together. And now here's the fun part. We're going to mix and match 2 stencils. So I have the Santa Moon and Starry Night all cut out, and we're going to play. So let's use the Santa one. This is the one that we don't have in stock, but I want to show you how well these different stencils work together to create nice panels. So this does bring me up a little bit higher. And sorry, you're just going to look at a blank screen. I'm going to cut my panels really quickly on my lap, just so I don't have to keep moving my board. So once again, your panels have to be 5.25 by 4. And let me just cut a few so I don't have to do this again. And keep your time. Hold on. Sorry, Lee. Sorry, everyone. Let me just cut a few panels because once I'm going, we're going to have fun. So let me cut 3. I think that's good to show you a good amount. And if I know how to measure, 4 and 5.25. Okay. So I have 3 panels ready to go. So let's do a little bit of a sunset. And the tree. So what I am going to do first is let's create a sunset type look. So I have pink, yellow, and orange. And I'm going to do the top first. So with this Santa Moon, the top of the sky was white, but I want to have a colored sky. So I'm just doing some pink. Kim, I am using TCW's 8.5 by 11 stencils. They're quad stencils, so there's 4 layers that you do on one piece. But what I did was I cut my stencil apart to make small A2 size stencils. So I'm just creating a nice sunset type. Deborah Lee, so for storing my stencils, oops, why is this orange not working? Originally, I had them in a snap album, but I do have a thing, well, okay, let's say I hoard stencils, and I love it a lot that I needed to find another system. So right now, all my stencils, particularly because they're 6 by 6-ish, I keep them in a Totally Tiffany bag. Depending on how many stencils you have, the paper taker works. The 6x6 paper taker, the 6x6 paper handler, but the one I really like using right now is this Faline. You can get dividers for it, and it fits nicely, so I can put all my stencils there. And then my bigger stencils, like my 6x8 stencils, are still in a snap album, but I don't have as much of those than 6x6. So here is my sort of sunset. I could probably do a better job, but I wanted to show you the fun stuff, so you don't need to see that. And so, oh no, that's the wrong one. This is the house. Where is the trees? So not using the moon yet. I'm going to skip the first layer. I'm going right to number 2. Number 2 is the first set of trees, like little bushes here. Very, very little. Once again, I'm just going to put my tape around so it doesn't move. So this is number 2. What color trees should I do? I don't have a dark green. I do have a bright green. You know what? Let's do a bright green. It might look a little bit different, but we're going to have fun. I don't have enough blending brushes, so let me just clear out my blue. Okay. Mixing my brushes.
Ellen says purple trees.
Purple trees? Okay. Ellen, you should be a little quicker. My blue brush is now green brush. Okay. Purple trees. I have, do you want a bright tree or a dark tree? I have wilted violet or I have villainous potion. Which one do you prefer? Dark tree, light tree?
I think a dark tree will look great.
A dark tree. Let's save the dark for, I guess, the trees in the front because this is in the back. Actually, no. So dark tree in the back, and then I'll do the light one in the front. Where's my purple? So I'm just putting ink on my brush, tapping it off a little bit. The nice thing about this is I can blend off and then blend on, so I don't have those smush marks. So I'm going heavy-handed here. So Ellen, this is where I go heavy-handed because there's no intricate pieces. And I really want that purple to show. Woo, sliding. And then wipe it off. I can always clean after. So that was layer number 2 for some of the trees. And then for number 3, no, this is number 3. So number 3 has some trees in the front. So let's do here. And this one I have to be very careful because I do not want reindeers on it. I don't want Santa. So I'm going to use the same purple, but this time I'm going to go a little bit lighter. So it's a same shade of purple. Oops, maybe I should mask that sleigh here. So I'm just using yellow tape just to help mask that, because knowing me on camera, I'm going to goof. So I'm just going a little bit lighter. Oops. And this is when little tiny blending brushes work. So here, going a little bit lighter. lighter up here. Can't forget about here. Soft. Even though I'm going over my sunset, it's okay because sometimes some areas of the tree does look darker when you're looking at it. But the fun thing about this is that you can interchange colors. There's no right or wrong and create many different backgrounds. So here is number 3. So our 4th one is the close-up of the trees. So I'm going to match it up. And I'm just matching these trees. So I'm making sure these little the stencil bits are in the correct places. And I'm going to stick that. And let's do the bright purple now, just to make it brighter because it's in the front. No, I still have that villainous on my brush. So here, just going a little bit brighter purple. And I have to be very careful at the bottom here. So if you wanted to put, here, I'm going to tape it down because this is the bottom of your, layered stencil. I just don't want it to shift because then my trees are going to look funny. Hold on. I slid and I moved it because, you know, hold on. Because of that delicate bottom, worst thing is I'm going to brush too hard and then break my stencil. So I'm just going to put, should have done this in pieces, some yellow tape. Oh my goodness, why are you keep moving? Let's see. I'm going to blame it because I'm on live and I'm having all this difficulty. But I'm going to tape this down because I don't want it to shift or pull this bottom piece. So I'm just masking it down, taping it down. So now it's easier to stencil that bottom without it lifting. There. So who likes to stencil? Do you guys like to stencil? I love to stencil everything. So here, so with the top of these trees, because of the sunset, I am going to go a little heavy-handed just to make them a little bit darker at the top and then pull it down. And the reason why for the sunset I went a little bit lower, let me see if I have the actual. So this is how they have, so this is what their packaging looks like. So they have the white background and then you stenciled 1, 2, 3, 4. But what I want to create and show you is that you can first color the background a little bit lower and do the stencils. And the nice thing about using ink is that they will go on top of one another, especially the oxides. Right now I'm using Distress ink and you can see that they work. They will still sit on top of each other. You'll still get the colors. Some spots will be. Are you ready for the reveal? But, oops, of course, it won't reveal properly. But here is my trees. And see how I went darker? It just has those peaks. So now, instead of using the cloud that it was that they gave us, let's switch it up. And from the City View one, I don't remember the name of it. It is called, these names are hard to remember, Starry Village. Let's use the stars. Do you guys want me to use paste on this? Change it up a little bit so I can show you how easy it is to put paste on this as well. So this one here, I need to tape on the bottom. Oh, I think Chris saying yes. So I want only the stars. I don't want the lights down here. That's for the village. So be very careful if you're swapping it like I am, that you make sure you're not stenciling the whole entire thing. So I need to make sure, I'm going to make sure we don't go past those stars. Okay, let's do some, I'll save the glow in the dark for later, but let's do Stardust, TCW Stardust. Oh, and of course I didn't bring the right palette knife. Okay, my spatula is big, but I think this will work. So I'm using Stardust, and I am going to put a layer. I'm missing this one star. Come on, don't be stubborn. I'm loving these spatulas. I'm more, they're easier for me to use. I find that I struggle with the palette knife. I like how these go on. One star missing. Yes, I'm being very careful with my stars.
Darlene.
Yes.
Vince says hi.
Oh, goodness. That means my kids are probably watching too. Hello. Vince is my husband. That's too funny. Anyways, okay, now I'm blushing. Come on.
Vince, she's doing a great job.
So I'm just washing my my little palette knife here because I don't want it to dry so I can use it for other things. And once you are done, you're going to do a reveal. So give me a second because I need to peel the washi tape. And I want to make sure that I don't. Ooh. Okay, this yellow tape is sticky, 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 sticky. Okay. And there, I'm not sure if you can see it. It's not dried, it's still wet, but there's some twinkly stars. And it's changing up. So let's say you're not a reindeer Christmas person, but you like the stars. And then it's a perfect spot for a sentiment right there. So I did do, how's time? Okay, so let me put the star away. Actually, I like the star. Let me do the star one more time. Let me wipe my star down. Give me 2 seconds. I created a background already, so you didn't have to see me stenciling, but I want to show you what you can do. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't have enough of the Stardust on here. Okay. Do I have another one? So here I have, oops. So this one is using the village. Did the same thing. I made like a night sky type of background. Let's change it up. Should we do stars or clouds? Let's do this one. I won't do the reindeer, but let's do the clouds just because this was fun. And I think for this one, I didn't do the clouds. I just did the moon. So let's play with the moon. So I am going to put washi tape. So the nice thing now is that I can position, because I know I'm going to mask the clouds, I can move this around. Oh, you know what? Let's move this to the corner here. And maybe I will put in a few clouds. What do you think? Do you guys agree? Do you think that's okay? Whoops. Not a smart move for washi tape.
Your boss says clouds would look awesome.
Okay, so let's do some glow in the dark. I think it's easier for me to do just so it doesn't take long. Let me do this portion in glow in the dark paste because we need to play with Tim's stuff. And what I'm going to do is get a scrap paper. Do I even have a scrap paper? Oh, I have one on the floor. Okay. So let's put scrap paper because I don't want to get paste on my board. And let's do a little bit of paste around here. And if you stay tuned, I have some with glow in the dark paste already, and I can turn off the lights and see if it will glow. So I'm just going off the cloud here, off here. Let's get that star in. This star can go in. The little world globe there. The moon, I mean. I keep calling it a globe. The moon. And I'm just going right to the edge. So this glow-in-the-dark paste has this texture to it, which is really cool. But so I'm trying not to waste the paste, as you can see. But a good layer. Make sure I didn't miss any spots. And let's take off the excess. And then I can show you some samples I did with other colors. So let's take this off. And I'm going to throw, oh yeah. Let's see. I just moved that stencil and I offset it so it's not centered because it's supposed to be right in the center. So the nice thing is that you can change it, move it, mask it if you don't like the moon there and you want to just have clouds. So while that is at the side drying, let me show you some samples and then I'll turn off the light so you can see how this glow in the dark is amazing. So here was the original Santa one. Let me show you some other Santa ones. Santa had the trees, right? Yes. So Santa, changing the color. So this one is more of a stormy night. Here, this one's a glow in the dark one, so I'll wait. But I did Santa and the reindeers as glow in the dark. Okay, so that was the Santa one. I'll leave the glow in the dark out so I can turn the lights. Here is the village. This one I just did more of a monochromatic look with just the light showing. Nothing in the sky. I just wanted it nice and plain. But I like that feel of like it looks like a white blizzard type thing. Here, another sunset. But look how the village is all in purples. Has that like reflection to it. So you can, so the one I did with you tonight, I did it heavily. And then this one I did it a little bit lighter. So how I got this light look is just using the leftover ink on my brushes without putting more color onto them. So here is more heavy-handed, but changing the town. And then here I was experimenting with colors, and this is also glow in the dark. So I'll leave that out. And then here are some mixed ones, mixing the two different layering stencils. So here I just use the moon and stars. So here I masked the clouds, so there's no clouds. So that's another glow in the dark one. Here I did the trees with just the stars in glow in the dark. And of course, this one with Santa. So let me see if it works. I don't know how dark it is up here for it to work, but hopefully you'll be able to see something. Give me 2 seconds. Let me just run and turn off the lights. I just have to switch my iPad because you can
that looks awesome.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're pretty cool. These are dried, so I can bring it closer. But even this, having it on a frame on the mantle, I know Chris says she doesn't like the glow in the dark, but hopefully I can change her mind. But they glow. Like here's Santa. The light from downstairs is still showing. But give me 2 seconds. Let me run downstairs. You could probably see this better. Or can I switch it here? I'm playing with lights. Ooh, can you guys see that?
It was actually better before.
Before? Okay, now it's too dark.
There you go. But you've convinced Chris. She says, now I have to get it.
Yeah, so quite fun. Lots of ways to use it, but it's all mixing it up and trying new things. And I did some, daylight, nighttime, but a lot of fun using these stencils. And don't be afraid to cut your stencils up. Just say Darlene said it's okay because you get more uses and it's easier. Like if you saw me struggling the first part of this video, and having it all cut up was much easier to stencil because you don't have the other side flapping while you're trying to tape it down. So just makes it easy. So I hope you enjoyed that, everyone. It was really fun, getting messy with you with stencil paste and Tim Holtz's new glow paste and all the TCW stencils. If you're interested in the stencils and we're sold out, please let us know. We can reorder them in for you. But these are, I think these are, hold on, I don't want to make sure these are dried. But these are the two I used tonight. And if you like the nativity scene, that's a great one too that I want to play with. And that one's this one here. And you could do the same thing. Cut it. Because even if you avoided the big star here, you could probably do the little stars. But lots and lots of fun. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me.
Thank you so much, Darlene. I think you gave lots of people lots and lots of ideas. And I hope people are going to look at their stencils a little bit differently and see how they can mix and match them.
Yes. And if you do, please share with us. We would love to see it.
Absolutely. Please do post your creations in the Paper Crafts Inner Circle, or feel free to email us. We love to see what you create. And we will see you all tomorrow night for What's New. We may just have a little twist as well during What's New, so you don't want to miss it. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so very much for tuning in. And thank you, Darlene, for a great demo.
Oh, my pleasure.